Who's the most disturbing man that you personally knew, and how did you get back at him? My uncles were gang affiliated, and my eldest uncle was an amazing tattoo artist. And my dad wasn't a gang member, but was well known in the city for participating in the gang activity, but he never actually jumped into the gang. One of my uncles threw a party for his daughter's birthday, and practically anyone who wanted to go to the party was allowed to join in. That included myself, my brothers, my mom, but we weren't there as it was my mom's sister's birthday and we liked her more. But my sisters went with my dad as they were close to my uncle's daughter. Now my sister was left sleeping alone in my cousin's room since our parties always ended up going until the next morning. The door to my cousin's room did not have a lock, unfortunately. As my 13-year-old sister was sleeping, she felt like somebody was on her, and as she woke up, she realized it was a boyfriend of one of our older cousins, and he was 19 at the time. Nothing was known beyond that until a month later when my sister had finally told my mom, and it's super brave of her considering she was only 13. Many people at that age keep quiet for years. By then, everyone in my dad's part of the family became aware of this, including my older cousin, the one with the creepy boyfriend. She was heartbroken but agreed on one thing with her dad. She set up her boyfriend into meeting up with her at a local park. Now my dad, along with my uncles and a few members, waited at the park at around 9 p.m. It was very lonely, barely lit in a quiet park. A friend of my uncle, known as Sonny, had a small RV in which they waited until that piece of crap arrived at the park. That's when my dad and the rest ran up to him and started laying blows on him until they dragged him into the RV. They arrived at my uncle's place, the one who did tattoos. Once they arrived, they took him inside where my uncle was ready with all of his equipment, and they gave him some new artwork. And when I say all over him, I mean all over his face, his neck, his hands, and his head. Everywhere. He had writing indicating that he had forced himself onto my sister, including an extremely big tattoo across his forehead, all the way to the right side of his head that said 13-year-olds and added a love heart at the end of it. After that, they waited until he woke back up. Now around 2 in the morning, they dumped him in front of his father's house, not to be discovered by his neighbors until the sun came out. My father left a heavy, well-written note on the door of that piece of crap dad's house. This led to that guy's dad kicking him out of the house, and surprisingly, one of his friends let him stay with him for a while until a month after the incident. Him and 2 of his friends were eventually found guilty on a charge regarding taking somebody's life, and apparently it happened around 3 months before this whole entire incident. He was sent to prison where he had his life taken by fellow prisoners in a brutal way. They set his entire room on fire.